The first scream came from the back of the crowded city bus. A woman clutched a little boy in a designer jacket, crying, "Please! Somebody help him! He's not breathing!" Passengers froze. Some pulled out their phones. Others backed away in panic. If you believe one act of courage can change an entire life, don't forget to like, subscribe, and share this story. And tell us in the comments, what would you have done in that moment? 12-year-old Ethan Carter had been delivering groceries after school when he stepped onto the bus. His clothes were worn, his shoes had holes, and his backpack carried more responsibility than schoolbooks. Since his father died in a construction accident, Ethan had spent every afternoon earning money to help his mother pay rent. He had never imagined that the next few minutes would change his destiny forever. The little boy lying across the woman's lap looked no older than 7. His face had turned pale blue. His tiny chest refused to rise. "Someone call an ambulance," a passenger shouted. "It's already coming," another replied. The bus stopped, and within minutes paramedics rushed aboard. They immediately began CPR while everyone watched in stunned silence. Ethan noticed something everyone else missed. The child had coughed once. Just once. It was barely noticeable. The paramedics worked for nearly 20 minutes before loading the boy into the ambulance. Ethan couldn't stop thinking about that tiny cough. Curiosity pulled him toward the hospital. He rode his bicycle across town and waited outside the emergency room. Hours later, doctors emerged with solemn expressions. "I'm sorry," the lead physician said gently to the crying mother. "We've done everything possible. We officially pronounce him deceased." The woman collapsed. Several people began weeping. But Ethan remembered his grandfather's words from years earlier. Sometimes people aren't gone. Sometimes their body is just waiting for the right signal. His grandfather had once been a volunteer firefighter and had taught Ethan basic emergency care. Ignoring every fearful thought in his mind, Ethan ran toward the doctor. "Please," he shouted. "Can I see him?" Security immediately stepped forward. The doctor frowned. "This isn't appropriate. I think he's still alive." The hallway became silent. The physician looked annoyed. "Young man, we've confirmed there is no heartbeat." But he coughed. Reflexes happen. It wasn't a reflex. Everyone stared at Ethan. The mother slowly lifted her tear-filled eyes. "Doctor, please, let him try." The request sounded absurd. But the doctor, exhausted and seeing nothing left to lose, nodded. "You have 1 minute." Inside the quiet room, machines had already been disconnected. The little boy lay motionless. Ethan remembered exactly what his grandfather had demonstrated years ago. He gently tilted the boy's head. Checked his airway. Placed both hands carefully. Then instead of panicking, he noticed something blocking the child's throat. A tiny plastic dinosaur. Probably swallowed while laughing. Ethan quickly reached inside using a finger sweep, carefully pulling the object free. The room froze. Nothing happened. 5 seconds. 10 seconds. Then. The little boy gasped. A weak breath. Another. Suddenly monitors that had been switched back on erupted with beeping. "Nurse!" The doctor rushed forward. "Pulse!" Another nurse shouted. "We've got a pulse." The room exploded into controlled chaos. Doctors resumed treatment with renewed urgency. The boy's lungs began working again. The impossible had happened. Outside, the billionaire father arrived by helicopter. Alexander Kingston owned hospitals, technology companies, and skyscrapers around the world. He was considered one of the richest men in America. When he learned that an unknown boy had saved his only son after doctors believed all hope was lost, he demanded to meet him immediately. Ethan sat quietly in the waiting room, still holding his torn backpack. Alexander entered surrounded by assistants and security. Everyone stood. Except Ethan. The billionaire walked directly toward him. Without saying a word, he knelt. The room gasped. Alexander looked Ethan in the eyes. "You saved my son." Ethan shrugged. "I just noticed something." "No," Alexander replied softly. "You noticed what everyone else overlooked." He embraced the surprised boy. Reporters captured the image. Within hours, every news station carried the unbelievable headline: "Poor boy revives billionaire's son after doctors declare him dead." Social media exploded. People called Ethan a hero. Television networks invited him for interviews. But Ethan declined every offer. "I still have homework," he said with an embarrassed smile. That answer touched millions more than any interview could have. A week later, Alexander visited Ethan's neighborhood. Luxury cars lined streets where abandoned buildings stood. Neighbors watched from windows as the billionaire entered Ethan's tiny apartment. Inside, Ethan's mother apologized for not having enough chairs. Alexander smiled. "I didn't come here for furniture." He placed a folder on the kitchen table. Inside was a fully paid scholarship covering Ethan's education from middle school through medical school. Another document transferred ownership of a new house to Ethan's family. A third established a trust fund for his mother's future. Ethan stared speechlessly. "We can't accept this," his mother whispered. Alexander gently pushed the papers back. "You already have." Confused, she looked up. "The moment your son chose compassion over fear, he earned every bit of it." Months passed. Ethan adjusted slowly to his new life, but one thing never changed. Every Saturday morning he volunteered at the children's hospital. He pushed wheelchairs, read stories, played board games. Sometimes he simply sat beside frightened patients who needed a friend. One afternoon, Alexander found him teaching another child how to fold paper airplanes. "You could be anywhere," Alexander said. "Why are you here?" Ethan smiled. "Because someone once needed help." Alexander realized then that wealth had never made him rich. Kindness had. Years later, Ethan graduated at the top of his medical school class. Standing proudly in the audience was the little boy he had saved, now healthy, smiling, and preparing to enter college himself. When Ethan accepted his diploma, he looked toward the crowd. His mother wiped away tears. Alexander applauded louder than anyone. The former patient stood and shouted, "That's my hero." The auditorium erupted in applause. Ethan wasn't remembered because he became a brilliant doctor. He wasn't remembered because a billionaire rewarded him. He was remembered because, when everyone else accepted the impossible, one ordinary boy believed there was still hope. And sometimes, hope is the strongest heartbeat of all. If this story touched your heart, leave a comment with the word hope, and share it with someone who believes that one small act of courage can change a life forever.